Hey folks, welcome back to my channel Relationship Haven. In today's story, Opie found out his wife cheated on him after he had suspicion she was having an affair, then decided to put a GPS tracker in her car. After doing so, he then discovered that his wife was at a motel with her affair partner, so he paid her a nice surprise visit and served her with divorce papers while she was there. Now she's a wreck. Let's get into today's story. I have been married 7 years to my wife. We have no kids. 2 years ago though, she started a new career and has been very successful. At the time she started, she mentioned a man that she works with but said on more than one occasion that he was a jerk, and she didn't like to work with him. Since then she has softened a bit and really doesn't mention him much. I felt like I had no major reason for concern. I've always trusted my wife, and although our marriage is not perfect, I felt like we got along pretty well. Fast forward to about a month ago, I started noticing some changes in behavior. She was texting a lot more and never letting her phone leave her side. She seemed to have more things going on at night and on the weekends. She became cold towards me and wouldn't reciprocate any affection. She also lied to me several times about strange things. The last lie was when she was packing for a business trip and I noticed she had purchased a new, much more revealing bathing suit than anything I'd ever seen her wear. I asked her about it and she said she ordered it online. Not true. And once she tried it on, decided it wasn't appropriate for a business trip to Florida with her colleagues. She then left for the trip and took the bathing suit with her. While she was gone, I decided to do a little digging. I had never in our entire relationship ever gone through my wife's things, but I had had enough of all the lies. In one of her work bags I found a drawing someone had done of her, almost like a caricature, but it was done on paper from a hotel. I also found a post-it note with driving directions to her male coworker's house written in her handwriting. I went through our bank statements and found that many times when she was supposedly at work, she was out to different restaurants around the city. This was enough for me to investigate further. I'm a private investigator by trade and ethically, I have no problem invading someone's privacy when confronted with reasonable suspicion of wrongdoing. I placed a GPS tracker in her car, legal in my state since the title is in my name. The Sunday after she got back from her trip, she told me she was going to work at a coffee shop and run some errands. Her car never came within 1 mile of a Chipotle, but when she got home, she walked in holding a Chipotle cup and confirmed she had eaten there. Then on the following Tuesday, she told me she had to go to a company dinner and would be working late until dinner. The GPS showed her leaving work at 3:20 in the afternoon and driving to the restaurant where her car remained until 9 o'clock that night. The final straw came on the next Saturday. We were supposed to watch my niece play tennis at 8 in the morning. She said she wanted to drive separately, so she could leave the venue and go to work at a coffee shop. After the match, she told me she was heading to X coffee shop and added a few details about why she wanted to go to that coffee shop. I said, "Have a good day," and went to my vehicle. Well, on the GPS, I watched as she drove directly to a Comfort Inn motel. I got to the Comfort Inn and waited in an adjacent parking lot until I could confirm that she was actually in the building and not sitting in her car. I called her from the lobby and asked how is X coffee shop. She said it was good. Why? The only other thing I said was come down here so we can get this over with. Once she came down, she said these exact words. "It's not what you think. He has to do this because he's been caught with other girls before." I asked what she was talking about and she said that he always works in hotel rooms. She said that they didn't do anything physical, and that's when I told her to get out of my car. I drove away and she called 50 times. I finally answered and I told her if she tells me even one more lie, I'm hanging up. She said that they did kiss once about 5 months prior, but that it was a mistake and didn't mean anything. She said again that they were just working. I asked how many times had she met him in hotels, and she said about 10 over the last 9 months. I then asked what she did on that Tuesday and she became defensive. She said she was at work all day until her work dinner. I called her a liar and hung up the phone. She showed up at our house where I was loading up my car with my belongings and my dog. She stood in the driveway refusing to move until I talked to her. She was in hysterics, crying and apologizing. I moved out that day and have been gone for a month. We have met a few times for her to try to explain things. However, when it becomes my turn to ask questions, she becomes very upset, gets defensive and says things like answering these questions isn't good for the relationship. She's also lied about several of the details, even when the details seem completely inconsequential. I've called her on the lies and she accuses me of trapping her by asking questions I already know the answers to. Through all of this, she has remained constant that this was not a romantic relationship. She said that she became really good friends with this man, and that he was helping her with her career. She admitted that their conversations would become inappropriate when they would talk about our marital issues. She's admitted to texting him and deleting the texts saying that they weren't romantic but could be seen as flirting. She said that she has been depressed for a really long time, and he was good at talking her out of those feelings and encouraging her in her work. I know I'm being deceived here, but there's a part of me that believes her. It may be that I want to believe her because I love her, or I'm afraid of the truth. I'm really hung up on finding out the truth, but the reality is I don't see any way that I can get over the facts that I do know, so why does it matter? Am I losing my mind? Update. We are a month out from Discovery Day. I spoke with her last night and here are the highlights. I asked if she has talked to the man over the last 4 weeks. She said that he doesn't know that I showed up at the hotel on Discovery Day and called her out. She also said she hasn't talked to him about the situation because this is an issue in our marriage and doesn't involve him. I asked if she has stopped all non-work related communication with him. She said that she is tapering down. Tapering down? I lost it. She said she feels like she has to taper down rather than no contact because he doesn't know that I busted her. Infuriating. She then lied about a completely insignificant detail. I called her on it and I was 100% confident that she was lying. She denied it to the point of yelling and never relented. I left it and chalked it up as one more unresolved issue in this saga. After she told me she was tapering off social communication with the other man, I hid a voice recorder in my house and left. Last night I reviewed the tape and discovered my wife and this other man had spent well over an hour on the phone with each other over the course of at least 2 phone calls. My recorder died in the afternoon. I would assume they talked again in the evening if not more. I didn't hear too many specifics from the phone call, but I did hear a few alarming things. They talked for a while about the current state of affairs in our marriage, something she claimed he knew nothing about. They talked about how to use the secret phone app on their phones, so they could not be detected. She called me a jerk for showing up late for breakfast that morning and they talked and laughed about a million other topics. I haven't heard my wife that giddy since we were dating. I confronted her about all of this and she admitted to some of it but denied other parts of it. I don't really care anymore. Here's another update. For the past 2 weeks I have gone no contact with my wife. A few days ago she texted me and asked if we could talk. I told her unless she was willing to confess to everything that I was not willing to talk. She then said she knows I've wiretapped her phone and that I already know everything. I told her I needed to hear it from her directly. She finally agreed to sit down and tell me everything. She came to my house and confessed that her relationship with the other man was indeed sexual, and that it had been going on for the past 6 months. She admitted that she purchased a hotel room one day before our anniversary to be with him. She also confirmed that she had continued talking to him after being caught, and he was helping her deal with my questions. She claims that she has now broken it off with the other man for good, and wants to work on our marriage. This confession came 6 agonizing weeks after I caught her in the hotel. I believe the only reason she confessed is due to my persistence. However, she said that she was always planning to tell me, but wanted to make sure it wouldn't hurt either one of us too badly. The damage done during those 6 weeks is unsurmountable. And one final update. First, let me say this: if you're in this situation and you're even remotely having thoughts of taking your life, don't do it. I say don't do it because if you do, you're going to miss out on the greatest time of your life. I mean that 100% sincerely. I know it's impossible to see when you're first going down this road, but trust me, don't miss out on this life. Now the update. We got divorced. I took my time in making that decision. I wish I wouldn't have taken that time, but who cares? She wanted to stay together. For what reason I have no clue. She lied and gaslighted me for an eternity, and that torpedoed any reconciliation possibility for me. It's the hardest thing I've ever gone through. During my marriage I was all in. I wasn't perfect, but I loved my wife with all my heart, and wanted to be with her forever. I would have done anything to make her happy, and I think I did on several occasions. Now that I'm away from that relationship, I can see it for what it was. A narcissist crushing every ounce of energy out of a good person. That marriage was completely one-sided, with one person giving everything and the other person taking even more than could be given. By the end of the marriage, I truly thought I was worthless as a partner. She degraded my profession, my personality, and my looks. Since getting divorced, my business has flourished, and I've been able to date women that I would have thought were way out of my league. I seriously thought I was ugly, in part because of the way my ex-wife made me feel, but now I'm having gorgeous women much younger than me approach me in bars. I've been in a couple of wonderful relationships with great women. They ended amicably for general compatibility issues, but it illuminated how terrible of a partner my ex-wife really was. I don't have any contact with the ex anymore. Really don't even think about her very often. This divorce became contentious because she thought I was getting too much of the money, even though I was taking less than 50%, because I wanted it to go smoothly without breaking up businesses and retirements. Can you imagine that? Cheating on someone and then getting upset about the amount of money they're taking even though it's less than 50%. That hammered home for me that I was making the right decision, and I needed to get away from this garbage as fast as possible. I lost friends in the divorce, good riddance. Most took my side, but I don't care about those that didn't. They made it easy for me to jettison them. I lost my in-law family. This is one of the hardest parts. I really loved some of them, but I get it. I sent enough correspondence to the affair partner's wife that I'm 100% confident she knows. She never contacted me back, and I'll respect her decision. Some advice if you're fresh in this nightmare. Separate yourself from the situation. This is the only way you're going to be able to think clearly without being gaslit. Get professional help. I was in therapy for a long time. It helps. I'm so much stronger now because of it. Surround yourself with friends and family as much as possible. Make healthy choices. Go to the gym. Limit drugs and alcohol. Get outside and try to sleep. Take people's advice but make your own decisions. It's your life. There were some really dark days after Discovery Day, but after the initial heartache, it has been the best time of my life. I'm truly happy every day. If you're going through this and need some advice from a self-proclaimed expert, hit me up. I'm happy to help. A huge thanks to everyone here who helped me when I was struggling. Cheers. Wow, OP. I'm glad to hear how much better you're doing now. In one of your other updates, you were mentioning how you were considering staying with her. I'm glad you immediately came to your senses and realized that you needed to get this train wreck out of your life as soon as possible. Your story serves as a perfect example that life can get better after going through a situation like this. It'll take some time, but once things do start to improve for you in life, you will be able to move on. You mentioned that your wife barely even crosses your mind anymore, which shows you have truly moved on. As far as the friends that you lost along the way, they were never your friends in the first place. True friends will stick by you, especially in times like what you went through. I wish you the best, OP, and hope your life continues to blossom with excellence. Thanks for taking your time to listen to today's story. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already done so, and comment below on what your thoughts are on today's story. If there's a story you'd like to share with me about your own situation or someone else's, then please do not hesitate to contact me. This is my first time posting on Reddit, so I'm going to do my best. I don't know the acronyms yet. I'm trying to learn them all. If my writing and story is all over the place, just know I'm going off the top of my head. To start, I'm a 31 male and my wife is 28. We have 2 kids, ages 7 and 5. My wife asked me for a separation August 27, 2020. She left that day and was apparently living with her mom. The day after, I got messages from her cousin saying that she had been cheating on me. My wife claimed she never did up to this day. A week after, we met up to do a Zoom meeting on her phone to meet our son's teacher online. She got a Facebook message saying something like, "Only a few hours left," with an eggplant emoji and peach emoji. After the meeting, I asked her if she could explain that, and she said she didn't want to talk about it, and that she had deleted the messages already. She said it was a girlfriend of hers because she was going on a date, and apparently girlfriends get excited for each other and think they're just going to get laid, which I obviously didn't believe at all. I got really upset and told her to leave. Around Thanksgiving, October for us in Canada, she told me she was taking the kids to another city to visit her grandparents and go swimming for Thanksgiving. She ended up lying and actually went with our kids and this guy she apparently cheated on me with and stayed in a hotel. On their drive back, the car engine blew and died. The same car she fought me for and owes almost $12,000 on, and still makes payments every couple of weeks. This is when I started to believe in karma a little bit more. Between September and November, my wife and I drank together and had sex around 5 or 6 times. I still wanted her back and I really wanted to have sex with her. The part that I'm realizing now is that she had been seeing this guy for a while. I found pictures of them about a week and a half ago. Ever since I saw those pictures and confirmed things, I've stopped talking to her. I just wanted to believe all of her lies even when they were obvious. So she cheated on me, left me for him, and was cheating on that guy with me. Just 2 weeks ago, before I found out for sure, she came over and we talked. She let me feel her up and give her a full body massage and everything. Right now, I can't even fathom what has been going on in her head. Some other extra facts. The kids are doing well, my apartment is spotless, and I've lost 50 pounds since she left me, 235 pounds down to 185. She came to my place a couple times and has cried to me about how it's so unfair that I'm doing so much better than she is. She said it wasn't fair that I was doing all of this now, and not when we were together. She told me she still loved me on Christmas and bought me Christmas gifts. Not just junk but a bottle of sake because she knows how much I want to visit Japan, and how much I enjoy making ramen and such. So she put thought into it. I don't mean to sound rude, but she doesn't look very good nowadays either. She put on weight and went hard into drugs and drinking. She told me she cries all the time. She told me she was depressed with me, left me thinking it'd be better, but is still depressed, and that messes with her. But as we know, happiness comes from within and she has none. So if you left me for someone else, at least be happy about it and make the best of it. She hasn't texted me for 4 days now. That's the longest she hasn't texted me in 4 months. She told me before, when we were together, that if she ever left I would fail. When I started a job working in a kitchen, I started as a dishwasher, and she said I would never make any friends. Apparently she forgot how social and good with people I am. All the waitresses loved me, and I moved from dishwasher to working on the line, and then was asked if I'd want to bartend. At the time I was overweight, and my self-worth and confidence were shot, so I didn't take up the bartending job. She didn't like how many people, especially girls, ended up liking me. Throughout the marriage, whenever my wife and I would go out drinking, she would always end up twerking on the wall or the floor and letting guys videotape her. She flirted with everyone and even had many of my close friends thinking I wanted a threesome with her. I don't drink often, but one Halloween I drank too much at a friend's party and ended up passing out and throwing up everywhere. While I was doing that, she was in the bathroom with guys showing her chest off for free coke and who knows what else. But she convinced me nothing happened and ended up making me think I was crazy and that everyone else was wrong, basically gaslighting me. I'm seeing a therapist now and I'm learning that basically she just needed attention from external sources nonstop. Getting it from her husband just wasn't enough. I know we all have issues and our marriage wasn't perfect. I know I still love her and care about her, but I won't be a backburner or a second choice. I hate comparing how me and her are doing, but it makes me feel better right now. I have my own place, a dog, happy kids, my own vehicle, money, and I'm a university. Even though I feel like complete garbage, I'm working through the emotions so I can fully move on and try to be at peace. Whereas she is living with her mom with a broken car, no vehicle, asking me for money and living off CRB. COVID money, unhappy and depressed. She thought the grass was greener and found that it wasn't. She is so afraid to be alone with her own thoughts that she still sleeps with her mom or the kids sometimes. When I have moved on, she will not have. I don't know if she will ever move on because she knows she made a mistake and is stubborn. In the end, I just don't know why she cheated and left, but continued to text me, had sex with me, and told me how I'm doing so much better than her. Boggles the mind. But then again, how can you understand someone who doesn't even understand themselves? I'm doing well, but some weeks I just feel so much pain. Like she pulled my heart out, shattered it, and had sex with the other guy on top of the shattered pieces. Anyways, that's the story. There's so much more I could say in background that I could give, but I think this does it. Thanks for reading. Feel free to ask any questions or whatnot. It's a difficult time to get separated and cheated on, what with COVID happening at the same time. Wow, OP. Here are my thoughts on the situation. The best advice is to go no contact except for instances that involve the kids. You need to stop letting her in the house. When she wants to talk, cut her off and walk away. She is a cake eater. She wants her cake, her affair partner, and to eat it too, domestic life. You're letting her hold on to that dream by even entertaining her. I know you still love her, but you admit you can't share her in your life. And that is exactly what you're doing. She can't give you what you need. Focus on yourself and your needs. Let's see what the comments had to say about the situation. OP. Here are my thoughts on the situation. The best advice is to go no contact except for instances that involve the kids. You need to stop letting her in the house. When she wants to talk, cut her off and walk away. She is a cake eater. She wants her cake, her affair partner, and to eat it too. Domestic life. You're letting her hold on to that dream by even entertaining her. I know you still love her, but you admit you can't share her in your life. And that is exactly what you're doing. She can't give you what you need. Focus on yourself and your needs. This woman has major mental issues. I think many here have mentioned going after custody of your kids because frankly, she's a mess. She has no self-control. She shows no ability to use good judgment. So allowing her to suck you in over and over is only prolonging the inevitable. You really need to just get her out of your life and mostly out of your kids' lives. Good luck, OP. Now let's get into today's second story. I don't know what I'm looking for by sharing this. I'm just lonely, sad, and disappointed, and maybe I just need some reassurance that I shouldn't consider taking her back. I've 27 male, been together with my fiancé 24 female, since the end of 2019. In my mind, things were going great. I proposed last year on a mountain near a waterfall and she said yes. We talked about what the wedding would be like and having children and all that. However, during our relationship, she became less interested in having sex, like from 1 or 2 times a day to 1 time a week or so. I hated that and tried to make things better. I was always careful with her and made sure she finished. She rarely reciprocated the things I always made sure to do. I hated that, but I accepted it. I am guilty because I am not good looking and I'm a boring person. I am a web designer and I usually end up staying up late working, and she woke up way sooner than I did because she was going to college at that time. She graduated last summer. I mention this because that was one of her common complaints, that I stayed up late and we didn't have the same schedule. I am guilty of that indeed, and the fact that I haven't had many activities outside the internet. She is also kind of lonely. She doesn't have many friends, and in my mind, we were getting along great until this May, when a few days prior to my birthday, she told me she wanted to break up. I was devastated. For a week, she didn't say anything, and then she texted me that we had to talk and maybe sort things out because she wanted to get back with me. I forgot to mention that I moved in with her last year after I proposed around October. She told me that she was frustrated that I wasn't paying attention to her, and I wasn't helping her enough with the chores. That is true. I was also frustrated by the fact that she was never in the mood. She said it was because she just didn't feel the need to do it. I guess it was a vicious cycle. We talked, got back together, and sort of moved back to her place. However, in that particular period of time, she unintentionally hinted that she had been seeing someone during the week we were separated. I pushed her and she confessed that she had been going out with a guy but said she didn't do anything with him. I was mad, but oh, little did I know that it was worse than I could ever imagine. We got over it, and a few days ago, with the seed of doubt planted in my mind, she asked me to look for something in her purse. I found 2 packs of condoms, one open with one missing. I confronted her and she told me that she didn't remember, that she would never cheat on me, that they were old. However, the unopened pack was from 2020. I acted like I believed her, and maybe a part of me did. But yesterday, while cleaning her desk, I moved her mouse and the screen of the laptop turned on. I want to mention that never have I ever invaded the privacy of anyone, but given the last days, I needed answers. I read on her Facebook chats with a girlfriend of hers that indeed she wanted me back and she didn't do anything with him, even though she lied to me about how she met him. With a sigh of relief, I searched for the word sex in a conversation with another girl she was close to last year. I wanted to know what I was doing wrong or why she didn't like it, and oh boy, did my world crash right there. The first result was from last year, where my fiancé described how hot her athletic colleague was and how much she wanted him. It was a graphic description. The others described how she went to a coffee shop with him in a short skirt, and then she went to his house and had sex with him. That was during the months of April and May. I don't know how many times it happened. She said she was trembling and that he had sent her a couple of pictures and she couldn't refuse him. At that point, my hands were shaking and I felt sick. I went back even further, and she had talked to her about other guys she was talking to in March, and she said she was considering getting Tinder. I confronted her yesterday and she couldn't believe I found out. For half an hour, She kept saying she hadn't cheated on me until she started crying and got on her knees. She said that it was a mistake and that she loved me and wanted to marry me and have my children and all that. I got what I could carry of my things, packed them into my car and left. Well, OP, you're doing everything right except for one thing, blaming yourself. You're a decent, honorable guy and you don't deserve this kind of treatment. Nobody does. Remember, she could have said no to the engagement. She could have come to you before breaking up and said that she wanted to date other people. She could have canceled the engagement at any time because of doubts. You're the innocent victim of her bad actions. Forget the alpha/beta crap. Good women stick with good guys. She's not a good woman. If you want a good woman, keep being a good guy, but maybe with a little more awareness next time. For now, do what makes you happy. Sports, working out, hobbies, reading and travel. Do all the things you always wanted to do in your life. Empty the bucket list. Your happiness will not start when you find the right woman. You'll find the right woman when you're happy and want to share it. I wish you the best of luck with your situation, OP. Thanks for taking the time to listen to today's stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and comment below with your thoughts on today's stories. If there is a story you would like to share with me about your own situation, or someone else's, then please do not hesitate to contact me. I received this story over the weekend. Apparently this guy's wife got a new job and she started cheating on him, but sounds like he got the last laugh. First, I'll share a little backstory about me and my wife. Since I want to stay anonymous, I'll use placeholder names. Anyways, I'm Jack and my wife, now ex-wife, is Sheila. We met on an online dating site and hit it off right away. I was a carpenter from Bellevue, Ohio, a smallish suburban town without much to speak of, while Sheila was from Columbus. At the time, I was working as a carpenter in my local town. If people needed renovations or had broken furniture, I was their guy. My wife worked in a Columbus restaurant. We went out once a week at first. Eventually, we decided to get married after a year and a half. I wish back then I could have known how much of a mistake that would turn out to be. For the first 5 years of our marriage, things went well. We moved in together in a Columbus apartment, and while it was a little on the small side, we were happy to share the space. We both agreed on not having kids either, at least until we had enough money to afford a family. We'd go to the library on the weekends to rent cheap movies, and once a month we'd eat out at my wife's place of work. They offered employee discounts. Life was fairly good, and even without that much money coming in, I was happy. I didn't know it at the time, but my wife didn't feel the same way. One day, Sheila came back from work extra late. She looked like she wanted to throttle someone, and her clothes were dripping wet. She took off her hat. Workers were required to wear one at a restaurant, and sighed very loudly. I asked her what's wrong. She said one of the dishwashers didn't make it in. I told them washing dishes wasn't part of my job, but they were not having it. I had to stay extra late finishing all the work, and apparently I'm not even getting overtime. Sheila had mentioned asking for a raise, but never built up the courage to confront her boss. I always urged her to do it anyway though, because she worked twice as hard as anyone else, and had been working at the restaurant for several years. Sheila didn't reply to my question though, and instead, she looked off into the distance with a strange focus. Sheila said she was going to quit, claiming her company never valued her as an employee. I told Sheila I know it's not fair, but we can't pay for rent on just my salary. Sheila suddenly looked at me with an angry expression, and blamed me because she had to work as well to help out with the bills. Then she threw a jab at me, saying if I stopped fixing windows and got a real job, she wouldn't be stuck in the same restaurant for the next 10 years. I was floored. We'd had arguments in the past, but this was a different side to Sheila than I was used to. She never used to insult my work or lay blame on me in this way. I was livid. I replied in the heat of the moment, I've been working the same job since before we met, and if you don't like it, then feel free to leave. I don't need you, and don't ever blame me for your problems. She stormed out of the house, and I didn't hear from her for the rest of the night. I texted her, but I got no response. When I called, each call went right to voicemail, or was hung up on the spot. When I tried to get in touch with her parents, or other family, they all told me she wasn't speaking to me. While I was by myself, I started to wonder if I made a mistake. Was I too harsh on Sheila? At the time, I thought I should have been a little more diplomatic, but I now know that this was just the first red flag of a great betrayal that was coming very soon. About a week later, Sheila texted me asking to meet. We both went to the same restaurant where Sheila worked, and there we made up. Apologies were exchanged, hearts were mended, and it seemed like everything was going back to normal. However, there was one big change that wasn't like normal. I noticed when we got the bill that there was no employee discount. I asked Sheila about this. Did they forget the employee discount or something? No. Sheila replied with an upbeat demeanor. I found a new job, a better one. That's great, I responded. What is it? Delta Airlines. Sheila was smiling like a child on Christmas Eve, and it was hard to blame her. Working for airlines was very difficult, requiring years of training and preparation. I asked, how did you land a job like that in a single week? It's not that hard to believe, is it? Sheila was implying that I thought she was lying or something. She then says, I'm not trying to be a pilot. I'm working as a flight attendant. I just had to take a few classes and that was that. And my sister is dating one of the interviewers, so that helped a little bit too. Then she mentioned something about a certificate. She says, I applied for it after college but never ended up using it until now. I guess those things don't expire for a very long time or something. I was amazed. My wife managed to get a job as a flight attendant for a major airline company in a single week. I was proud and even a little jealous, and a part of me couldn't forget her comments about fixing windows. For the moment, I put that aside to focus on the good side of things. We were back together, and we'd be able to support ourselves while also loving our jobs together. Things were good, and I hoped they would stay that way forever. Sadly, the good times will run out far sooner than I ever could have expected. Fast forward 4 years, and I started noticing a change in my wife. Her work for Delta Airlines meant she would be traveling and wouldn't come home at all while she was traveling. I was busy with my carpentry work too, but at times I felt like there was something else going on. At first, I brushed away this feeling. But as time passed and my wife continued to become more distant, I finally had to say something. When she came home at almost midnight one night after returning from one of her trips, I confronted her over it. I told her we needed to talk. I brought up the issue of her not interacting with me much when she would come home. I told her, I know your work is important, but I feel like we're drifting apart. Sheila replied, of course not, I love you, but I can't control when I go to work or come back. My job requires that I spend quite a bit of time away from home, or nobody would have flight attendants for late night flights. I asked her, couldn't she ask for different times? I understand that her work has certain demands, but if that comes between us, then we should fix that problem, right? Her response was a bit surprising. She said, that's not an option, and my work isn't coming between us any more than yours. Let's talk about something else now. I dropped the subject. Since I could tell she was getting a little angry, I brought it up. Still, I wasn't reassured that everything could be explained just by work. It's hard to explain, but there was something in the little things that added up over time. She would say, I love you less often, be in more of a hurry to leave in the mornings, and when we were together, she was often looking at her phone or out a window. These and a dozen other small signs were warning me, but I didn't know what they were warning me about. All I knew for sure was that something didn't feel right in my gut, and I had to figure out what it was. Later that night, I found out the truth, and it ripped me apart when I did. Sheila had gone to bed before me, and I was making a late-night meal before going to bed. In the past, we'd have sex around this time, but even that became less and less frequent. My wife claimed it was because she was tired, but a part of me wasn't sure if that was the whole truth. All of these little things were nagging me in the back of my brain. So when I saw Sheila's phone on the kitchen counter, I made a decision that would change everything. I'd seen her unlock her phone in the past and knew the passcode as a result. All I had to do was unlock it and see for myself if my gut suspicions were right. I picked up the phone, unlocked it, and took a look. Inside, I found that all of my worst fears were confirmed. There were messages with guys I had never heard of, with pictures even I didn't send to Sheila. One of the contacts, a guy named Jason, had hundreds of messages about meeting up, intimate conversations, and plenty of sexting. I even found her Tinder profile, where she claimed to be single and put up provocative pictures for the whole world to see. My wife had been sleeping around for years by now, and all of it while pretending to be hard at work up until the middle of the night. I wanted to cry, yell at my wife, and curl up in a ball. Instead, I kept my calm and used my head. I took screenshots of everything, archived all the information I could, and sent everything to my phone and computer. After that, I quietly gathered all of Sheila's things and put them in boxes from the basement. It took damn near the whole night, but the anger and betrayal gave me a kind of zen energy that kept me going. I even considered sending some of the stuff to Sheila's family, but decided against it. What she did to me was wrong, but I wasn't going to stoop to that level because of it. Instead, I found a lawyer in the area online and sent a message asking for legal advice. I'd be going for a divorce and wanted to keep my shirt after all was said and done. Finally, as the sun was starting to come up, I made myself some coffee and waited for Sheila to wake up. When she finally did, she stumbled downstairs in a seemingly hungover manner. She had been doing that a lot in the recent past, and I'd brush it off as tiredness, but I now thought there was probably another cause after all. She was a little confused, since I normally woke up after her and took a seat while I made her a cup of coffee. I spoke first. I want a divorce. Sheila laughed at first, but as she saw my stern expression, the laughter trailed off. You're serious? Deadly, I responded. Why? Sheila asked. Because I found out what you were doing behind my back. You lied to me, Sheila, and now I want you gone. I expected tears or begging or maybe yelling. To my shock, I got none of that. Sheila was almost totally emotionless, like a carved statue. Okay then, probably for the best, honestly. Her response hurt me deeply than any nastiness could have. All this time I thought we were in love, but in that moment I realized it had all been a lie. Even if she once loved me, it was long gone now. We were together because it was easier for her to stay than to leave, but she didn't feel anything special for me. I spoke, trying to contain the pain in my voice. Your stuff is already packed. I want you gone by the end of the day. I'll send you the divorce papers as soon as I get them. After that, we're through. Sheila didn't say another word. She got her things, made a few calls, and waited for her ride to come pick her up. She looked straight out the window while sitting in one of the kitchen chairs and didn't move a muscle the entire time. When the car finally arrived to pick her up, she left the apartment and got in without another word. 1 week later, and I'd finally cleared things up with the lawyer I contacted. He sent me all the divorce documents I needed and told me that I could even get alimony because of my wife's high-paying job. I was skeptical if a judge would be all right with that, but decided to add it to the documents nevertheless. After everything was ready to go, I sent it to Sheila, who was staying with her parents. I sent a text to her after the papers were sent. The papers are on their way. Once you've signed them, we can both move on from this. She responded later that day. Once I sign these, it's all over? Yes, I replied. She responded, good. I got the divorce papers back about a day later and reviewed them with my lawyer. Inside, the papers had a generous alimony payment for me, both because of my lower-paying job and the infidelity of my ex-wife. I figured Sheila would contest the numbers, but it seemed she was comfortable with paying that much. Now, all that was left was to submit the papers to the court and get this divorce hearing underway. In the end, submitting them took an afternoon of driving to a nearby courthouse, wait for the court hearing. About a month later, it was finally over. I was divorced from my cheating wife. Fast forward another month. I received my first alimony payment of nearly $600 into my bank account. Turns out that being a flight attendant pays a lot better than me fixing windows. Needless to say, Sheila wasn't happy about that, lol. I sent her a thank you text for her monthly generous donation to my bank account. I saw that my cheating ex-wife was in the middle of typing a reply, but I never read it. Before it was even sent, I blocked her number and deleted her contact from my phone. I never heard from her again. I am still getting alimony payments and I don't feel bad about my carpenter job. Her cheating on me turned out to be some supplemental income for me. It sucks I had to lose my wife over it as I loved her with all my heart, but what's done is done. In January 2020, my friend makes a stupid decision and buys a brand new car he can't afford. His insurance is like $400 a month. He makes like $10.25 an hour working as a shift supervisor at McDonald's. His car payment is like $795 a month. Now at $10.25 an hour, 30 hours a week, that's a weekly income of about $300 or about $1,230 a month, so yeah. So my friend came to me for help because I used to sell cars and know the industry pretty well. I go over his paperwork. The dealer did rip him off, but my friend is trying to find a way to get out of this mess, and ripping someone off isn't illegal. They did, of course, overcharge him for the warranty. They gave him a higher APR. They had add-ons, etc. But none of that is illegal, and I know the only way I can get my friend out of this deal is if they did something illegal. So I look at his finance application that my friend signed. It correctly listed his income, which turned a light bulb on in my head. No bank is going to approve someone for a $795 car payment if they're only making $1,200 a month. It does not make mathematical sense to do that. So I start searching through his paperwork for the finance app the dealer submitted to the bank. You oftentimes submit a finance application at a dealership. The dealership will take the hand-filled out application and reproduce it electronically. This is pretty normal. However, on the application the dealer submitted to the bank, the dealer said my friend was the GM of the McDonald's and made $70,000 a year. My friend had good credit, so it doesn't appear like the bank asked for proof of income. So I go to the dealership with my friend and tell the sales manager he's going to put me in touch with the GM because we're going to be unwinding my friend's deal and giving his trade-in back. The sales manager thought I was joking. The GM also thought I was joking. Then I demonstrated how this dealership finance department committed bank fraud. I showed the GM the finance app my friend filled out. I then showed the GM the finance app his dealership submitted to the bank and pointed at the income difference. My friend really made $14,000 a year. The dealership claimed my friend made $70,000 a year. That's bank fraud. That's a felony. Let's keep this simple, shall we? The GM sees his dealership is in a load of shit. The proof I am presenting to him is rock solid. He knows it. I know it. We are all on the same page. He goes, okay, so what can I do to make this right? I go, unwind the deal, give my friend his trade-in back. Unwinding the deal is basically the GM agreeing to cancel the deal and basically erasing the deal and pretending it never happened. GM tries to avoid that, but I remain firm and remind him we can easily take this documentation and turn his life into a living hell. He knows I'm right. My friend also needs a car to get to work the next day. The GM says he'll check into it. He comes back and tells me, unfortunately they sold this trade-in already. I said that's fine. Unwind the deal and let's put my friend into something that's good or slightly better than what he traded in for. So the GM goes, so he'll buy a car similar to his trade-in? I said no, you'll give him a car similar to his trade-in. The GM goes, it doesn't work that way. I go, it does when you commit bank fraud. The GM is upset with me and I remind him I'm being really nice and the situation can get really ugly, like felony level charges ugly, like losing a franchise ugly. So yeah, this is going to hurt, but it's going to hurt less my way. So the GM goes, all right. And he looks in his inventory and he tells me they have a 2007 Ford Focus with 10,000 more miles. I tell him no, the car you give my friend needs to be the same or better than what he traded in. The GM counters, I'm giving him a free car. And I go, no, you took his trade-in, you sold it. You made money on that sale. You also committed a felony in the process of selling him his new car. You are now correcting that mistake. This isn't a free car for my friend. This is you correcting your mistake. GM insists that's what he's willing to do. I tell him if he can't do better than that, we will go to a consumer protection attorney and have a conversation with him. My friend didn't want to go this route, but it was our plan B. We go to get up. The GM says, wait, give me a second. The GM goes, I have a 2008 Civic. It has 5,000 more miles, but it's a Civic and not a Focus. I unwind the deal on the new car and put your friend in the Civic at no extra cost. We agree. GM has the paper drawn up. The old loan on the new car is canceled. They take in the new car again, but because it's already titled, they'll have to sell it as used. That sucks for them. And they gave my friend a better car than the one he traded in. For people asking why we didn't get a lawyer involved from the start, we could have done that, but courts take a long time. And this was a faster way to fix. Welcome to Reddit Relationships. Now let's get into this Reddit video. This Reddit story is called Found Out. My wife of 21 years was cheating while she was visiting her parents. Hey Reddit, I am here to share my story that happened just last year. My wife and I were married for 21 years, 2 kids, both in college. Now I would say our marriage was good. Never had any trust issues or anything of that nature. About a month ago, my wife went to see her parents that she hasn't seen in about 2 months because of her career and working a lot. She was with her parents for about 2 weeks. I didn't notice anything out of the ordinary because we would always communicate at about the same time every day, either through text or a phone call. The last week or so, I noticed she wasn't answering her calls or text messages in a timely manner. I wasn't worried. I just figured she was doing things with her parents, so I didn't put any more thought into it. My daughter, who is in college, called me one day and asked where her mother was. I said she was visiting your grandparents. What my daughter told me next made me a little concerned. She said, Dad, I wasn't going to say anything, but Mom was talking to some guy who lives a few minutes away. I said, really? I said, how do you know it was some guy? She said one day when she was visiting us, she said her mother stopped at a gas station and left her phone in the car while her mother was in the store. Her phone rang and the caller ID said, my hot new friend. My daughter said, please don't say anything to Mom. I said I won't. After my daughter said that, I didn't want to think anything crazy or blow up her phone. Instead, I waited for her to get back. When my wife got back from visiting her parents, she acted like everything was normal. Didn't act distant at all, just her normal self. One day after work, I drove home and I pull up in the driveway. I notice my wife's car in the driveway. So I walk in the door. I don't see her right away. I walk to the bedroom and I still don't see her. As I began to walk away from the bedroom, I hear a noise in the bathroom. I turn back around. She doesn't know I am home. I peek into the bathroom. She is taking naked selfies. I say, what the hell are you doing? She screams. I asked her again, what are you doing? She then tells me she is taking photos for a magazine. I say to her, you are lying. I then lied to her that I know you are seeing someone that stays in the same town as your parents. She doesn't say a word. I walk out of the bedroom and go into the dining room. She comes behind me, naked and all, and starts apologizing. I told her, you know how I found out you were possibly cheating on me? Our daughter told me, she told me not to say anything. But after seeing you take pictures, I asked her, how long have you been cheating on me? She looks at me and to my surprise she says, it doesn't matter. Right then and there I told her to pack her shit and get out. She says, I am not going anywhere. I have as much right to this house as you do. I say, okay, we will do this your way. What I will do is let everyone know that you are cheating on me. And those photos you took, they are in the cloud. Oh, you didn't know as you take them, they are uploaded to the cloud. And I will share them with your family and your friends and my friends. You can't delete them because I set up an authentication process to get in. And only I have access to that. She says, you wouldn't dare. If you don't get out, I will. She says, where will I go? I said, that's not my problem, but you have two places, your parents or your boyfriend. So she walks off, grabs two big suitcases and starts packing some things. Meanwhile, I send a text to both of my kids, telling them I will call them later. I call my brother and let him know that his sister-in-law was cheating on me with a guy that resides near her parents. He said, how did you find out? I told him Megan, our daughter, told me. I said, she noticed a phone call with the caller ID on her mother's phone saying my hot new friend. He says, my goodness, what are you going to do? I said, I am going to file for divorce. He says, you don't want to find out why? I said, no, I caught her taking naked selfies in the bathroom. He says, no way, she didn't do that. I said, yes, she did. I also told him I don't want to reconcile or do marriage counseling because she visits her parents often and could be seeing him on a regular basis. When she goes to see them, after getting off the phone with him, I called around to a few lawyers and scheduled an appointment to go and file for divorce. Later that evening, I get a phone call from my wife. She wants to talk. I told her, there is nothing you can say. Our daughter told me that you were talking to someone. That's horrible. You would let her see that. She says, I didn't mean for that to happen. I told her, I see why you wanted to visit your parents and you did it often. And the photos, it all makes sense. Now, I told her the only thing we need to do is sell the house so we can split the equity in it. That's all I want. I don't want to stay married to you. She starts crying a little. I told her, your tears are not going to make me change my mind. I gave you 21 years of my life. I fought for you. I watched after you financially, gave you 2 healthy kids. You didn't want or need anything. If you did, I was there to give it to you, even help you pay down some of your student loan debt. And this is how you repay this family. I also told her I don't even know why I am talking to you. I also told her that Megan kind of already know you might be cheating and I will leave it up to her to tell her brother. She goes on apologizing and asks for some time to get more of her things. I interrupted and told her, you need to tell your parents why you are staying there. I will give you 1 week to do so. After that conversation, I go to my lawyers and file for divorce based on irreconcilable differences. She is not asking for any spousal support because she makes more than I do. I don't want her money. I just don't want her as my wife anymore. The fact that my daughter told me she was talking to some guy and she was taking naked selfies, that's all I need to see. I don't need to spend money on a private investigator. The signs are there. After that conversation, my son calls me and says, "What the hell is going on with mom?" I asked him what he means. He says his sister told him that mom was talking to some other man. I confirmed it and told him that his mother was indeed cheating. I told him I asked her to leave and she has. My son then asks, "Dad, why did she cheat?" I said, "Son, I don't know." He says, "Will we have a home to come to when we visit?" I said, "Yes, you will. I am not going anywhere." That almost made me cry listening to my son ask that question. A couple of days go by and my mother-in-law calls me and tells me she is so sorry for what has transpired. She asked, "Is there anything my wife can do to maybe change my mind?" I said, "Mom, there is nothing she can do. She ruined the family and betrayed not only me, but the kids as well. And they already know." My mother-in-law says she is taking it hard and just cries most of the day. I told her she will be okay. That guy she is cheating with stays near you. So, I have been told when we finish chatting, I decided to do some more digging. I get a hold of phone records and the number that my daughter saw on the caller ID. She has been calling or texting for at least a year. So, she has been cheating on me. I am assuming for at least a year, probably longer. My attorney has informed me that the paperwork has been filed for the divorce, and I am just waiting for her to be served. Couple of weeks go by. Both my son and daughter come home for the weekend from college. They both attended the same university. We all sit down one evening and I told my kids, "Don't hate your mother. In fact, I encourage you guys to go see her. She is staying with her parents." I told them I am not going to force you to see her, but maybe go visit her for a few hours to see how she is doing. Both of my kids say they are not doing that. They are not ready. They are not ready to forgive her yet. They asked me what I plan to do. I told them once the divorce is final, enjoy my life and have fun. Not going to jump into seeing other women or dating. I am still heartbroken over the fact that your mother chose to betray us. My kids go back to the university. Later that day, I get a phone call from a strange number that I didn't know. I answered the phone. Turns out it was the guy she was cheating with. I was shocked. I asked him how he got my number. He wouldn't tell me. He goes on to apologize profusely for sleeping with my wife. I said, "Wait, you slept with her?" He said, "Yes." He said, "I did not know she was married. She never wore her wedding ring around me. She would be here visiting her parents and pretended to work out of state." I then asked him what made him call me. He said he just had a hunch that something wasn't right. So one day when they were together, he wrote down her license plate number. It came back with an address that wasn't in this county. So he started digging. He found out that she lived here and worked here in this county. He is a retired private investigator. He says, in that line of work, when you get a hunch, you usually start digging. He then told me that he broke it off with her and told her that he didn't want to see her anymore. He confesses that his wife cheated on him and left him for someone else. They were married for 31 years. He said it was the worst thing he has ever felt, and he couldn't participate in it anymore. Once he found out she was married, I thanked him for the call. Before he got off the phone, he apologized again. After that, I felt some sort of vindication. She lost her affair partner and family in less than a month after I found out. Since then, she has been served with the divorce hearing. We go to court and I now am a free man. The judge says we need to sell the house to split the equity. When she came to court, that was her focus. She wanted some type of financial gain from the divorce. At least it seemed that way. After the divorce, she has remained with her parents until she can find her place. She has been to the house to get odds and ends on occasion. The kids still haven't gone to see her, and I don't know when they will visit their mother. I am sorry this is rather long, but I had to write this somewhere. It was kind of therapeutic. Thank you Reddit for listening. Thank you for taking the time to watch and listen to this Reddit